Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. James Comey's appearance before the Senate Intelligence Committee could be the most dramatic congressional testimony in decades. He was fired by President Trump last month, and he plans to testify. He told the president he was not under investigation and that Mr. Trump pressed him to say publicly. CBN's national security correspondent Eric Gonzalez got a copy of Comey's opening statement to the Senate Intelligence Committee and gives us this look at the showdown in the Senate.
James Comey says in a released statement that President Trump repeatedly pressured him to publicly announce that he was not personally under federal investigation in connection with the Justice Department's investigation into Russian meddling in last year's election. According to Comey's own statement of record, on 3 separate occasions he told the president he is not under investigation. The first on a January 6th briefing, then at a January 27th dinner, then on a March 30th phone call. During that call, Comey says the president asked him what could be done to lift the cloud over him from the investigation. The president told Comey that the Russia investigation was hurting his ability to govern. Comey replied that we were investigating the matter as quickly as we could. Comey then said, I explained that we had briefed the leadership of Congress on exactly which individuals we were investigating, and we had told those congressional leaders that we were not personally investigating President Trump. I reminded him I had previously told him that. He repeatedly told me we need to get that fact out. Comey never did, so the president did through Twitter and interviews.
I said, if it's possible, would you let me know, am I under investigation? He said, you are not under investigation.
But what about the question of obstruction of justice and the investigation into Trump's then National Security Advisor, Mike Flynn? Comey said a conversation took place on February 14th in the Oval Office. After a meeting that dealt with counterterrorism, Comey says the president wanted to speak with him alone. Comey states the president began by saying, I want to talk about Mike Flynn. The president said Flynn hadn't done anything wrong in speaking with the Russians, but he had to let him go because he had misled the vice president. Comey states the president then said, I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. He's a good guy. I hope you can let this go. Comey says he agreed Flynn was a good guy, but, quote, I did not say I would let this go. But Comey states he believes the president was requesting that the FBI drop any investigation of Flynn in connection with the false statements about the conversations he had with the Russian ambassador. And that's the reason he wrote the memo to document the conversation. But Comey does not accuse the president of obstruction of justice. A source close to the president told CBN News that the statement of record by Comey is anticlimactic because it's nothing new. In Comey's statement, it says nothing about his firing, but it does say that he thought he had a job for a while because the president called him loyal. Eric Rosales, CBN News.
North Korea is not slowing down its missiles tests. Thursday, it fired several suspected short-range anti-ship missiles. That is according to South Korean military officials. They landed in waters between the Korean Peninsula and Japan, where U.S. aircraft carriers, the Carl Vinson and the USS Ronald Reagan, are located. North Korea could have a working nuclear-tipped intercontinental ballistic missile in the next several years. Officials say they are seeking to build a nuclear missile that can reach the United States. 5 of the men who launched an attack in Iran's capital Wednesday fought for the Islamic State. The attacks happened at Iran's parliament and the tomb of the revolutionary leader, killing at least 17 people and wounding more than 40. Iran's intelligence ministry issued a statement about the men, saying they left the country to fight for extremist groups in Mosul and Syria. It is believed they returned to the country in August. The ministry says the men are affiliated with the Wahhabi form of Islam, an ultra-conservative form of Sunni Islam practiced in Saudi Arabia. British voters are at the polls today for the national elections with concern about more terror attacks. Aldir Hurd is following this story.
The official threat level stands at severe, which means another attack is highly likely, as voters choose 650 lawmakers for the House of Commons. Prime Minister Theresa May called the snap election in hopes of increasing the Conservative Party's slim majority in Parliament and strengthening her hand in the Brexit talks with the European Union about leaving the EU.
This election is not just about the next 5 years. It's about setting this country on the right course for generations to come.
Labor leader Jeremy Corbyn's message is basically more free stuff in the form of social benefits and raising taxes on the rich.
Or the Labour alternative, which will increase taxation for the top 5%, but not for 95%.
But many voters will have another issue on their minds. ISIS has vowed that the Manchester and London terror attacks were only the beginning of attacks on what it calls Crusader soil. The latest polling averages going into the election show the Conservative Party with an almost 8-point lead over Labour.
My suspicion is that Theresa May will remain as Prime Minister, but the size of her majority will depend very much on the degree to which different groups within society turn out to vote.
What began as one of the dullest election campaigns in recent memory has become, for a lot of British voters, a matter of national security. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Vice President Mike Pence says Catholics and all Christians have an ally in President Donald Trump. He shared that message with more than 1,000 of them in Washington, D.C. this week. CBN's Jenna Browder is on this story.
This is my song. It's a tradition that attracts Catholics from across the globe.
For the sake of his sorrowful passion.
This year's headliner at the National Catholic Prayer Breakfast, Vice President Mike Pence.
My mom would be so proud.
In his remarks, Pence started with the news of the day and recent terrorist attacks in the United Kingdom and Australia.
They have our prayers. They have our unwavering resolve. As the President said 2 nights ago, this bloodshed must end. And this bloodshed will end.
He then got into his own personal faith and made clear the commitment this administration has to all believers.
American Catholics have an ally in President Donald Trump.
Pence touched on religious freedom, Christian persecution, and of course, protecting the unborn.
But I couldn't be more proud to serve as vice president to a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life.
A message that resonated with the crowd and earned Pence several standing ovations.
Do you feel like in this administration with President Trump, with Vice President Mike Pence, do you feel like they are friends of the Catholic community?
Without question. I think you see up and down from the appointments in the administration. I have personal friends that have joined the administration, and by their accounts and certainly the public policies that this administration is advancing, I think it's very clear you have a very different and a very supportive administration toward some of the priorities of the Catholic Church.
Brian Birch with CatholicVote.org says the feeling here is similar to 10 years ago when President George W. Bush spoke. It's a big deal for Catholics and all believers to have the second in command not only recognize, but share and encourage them in their faith.
And at this moment, I urge you to continue to stand up, to speak out, to continue to be that voice for the voiceless that the church has been throughout its history. Continue to be the hands and feet of our Savior.
In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
This week marks the 50th anniversary of Israel's battle to reclaim its biblical heartland. The Six-Day War is a critical period in the country's history, and CBN brought it to life on the big screen. In Our Hands, the Battle for Jerusalem premiered at theaters across the country, and just last night, a Jewish synagogue in Washington hosted a special screening. Hundreds of people showed up, including CBN CEO Gordon Robertson, who is a producer on the film. The senior rabbi of Washington Hebrew Congregation says many of his members lived through the Six-Day War and understand the history.
But I think what's important is for us to talk about this in the context of the greater understanding of Israel today. And what does that victory mean today? What does it mean not only to our congregation, but this is an opportunity to interfaith with Christians who have a different perspective on why Israel's important to them. And I think that's important for our congregation to engage in.
And to learn more about In Our Hands and the Six-Day War, simply go to inourhands1967.com. Coming up, we look at a state where charter schools are making a difference and are helping children to flourish. President Trump wants to increase federal funding for school choice by $20 billion. But the big question is, does it work? The answer depends on who you ask and where you go. Heather Sells brings us this look at one success story, an area called the Golden Corridor in South Phoenix.
At 8 o'clock each morning, students at the Paideia Charter School begin the day with their mission statement. A little music also sets the stage.
I'm gonna use my synergy. I'm gonna be in charge of me. Oh, you're gonna love me when I leave.
A few miles away, students at the Arizona School for the Arts Charter prepare for an upcoming recital. And at the Espiritu School, students tackle math and get ready for their next community service project.
We try to teach kids that it's just not all about me, but it's about how do we serve the community.
Charter schools are a big part of the choice landscape here in Arizona. In the whole state, there's more than 500, and on this particular block, there's 3.
As an Arizona lawmaker in the 1990s, Lisa Keegan sponsored the original charter school bill and went on to become the state school superintendent.
The culture of Arizona is to innovate, create something new.
The state started with open enrollment, allowing students to choose their public school regardless of their address. Then came tuition-free charter schools and a few other education choice tools. A voucher-type program provides money for education accounts ranging from $4,000 to $30,000 a year. Its goal: help students with disabilities and those in low-performing public or charter schools pay for a private education. Tax credits are also available for those who contribute to private school scholarships. It's all part of a mix, says Keegan, that not only helps children and their families, but teachers as well.
You have to let educators come into this market and provide what they know how to provide. Whether that be in private schools or public schools, homeschooling, whatever that is, there is so much more talent out there that we don't allow into the marketplace because of our regulatory view about who gets to provide education to children.
Boy, Matthew!
Paideia principal Brian Windsor loves the freedom of running a charter. While he's required to keep test scores up to maintain enrollment and state mandates, Windsor can quickly change practices that aren't working.
3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24.
Last year, he switched his math curriculum in the middle of the year, and data shows the new plan is a success. He can also hire and fire as needed.
I am able to carefully coach a teacher or any employee here, and when I feel like they've been coached up and they're okay, we move on. But if I feel like they're not following my counsel and they're not treating our children well or our other people well, I can let them go rather quickly.
Joanna Deshay chose Paideia for its philosophy of using moral principles to educate the whole child, and she's amazed at the help given to her son, who struggles with autism.
The teachers call me. They'll say, hey, your son's having a really bad day. Any strategies that we can use to help him have a better afternoon?
Another parent, Cynthia Morega, pulled her daughter from her elementary school when she suffered a concussion and began to fall behind.
I feel like they failed her. I was able to come and search, and I did, and I searched hard. I looked at like 6 different schools in the area and asked questions.
She chose Espiritu for its A rating, attentiveness to her daughter, and focus on service.
These aren't the most wealthy schools, I can say. You know, they don't have a lot of money coming in. But what school do you see out there making packets for the homeless? You know, which ones are out there cleaning up the community?
Arizona has moved quickly to close charter schools that don't work and acted to replicate the ones that do. Now, after decades in the making, school choice is on the rise. In the last 5 years, choice has allowed 100,000 families to make the move to higher performing schools. Combine that with improving test scores, and you have a South Phoenix that has transformed into an area known as a golden corridor.
You get to a point where you have so many high-quality schools emerging that now there's a buzz, and now families are talking with each other and in their churches and at their community center about, oh, we have got some really great school options, and it has transformed our family. So that's what you want.
Reporting in Phoenix, Heather Sells, CBN News.
Up next, they are the hottest team in the NBA right now, but it's what they're doing off the court that is making all the difference. Stay with us for this story. The Golden State Warriors did it again. They beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 118-113 in Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Steph Curry and Kevin Durant carried the team to a victory over the Cavaliers Wednesday night. They, along with teammate Klay Thompson, scored 87 points combined. The victory extends their postseason record to 15 consecutive game wins. If they keep it up, Friday's game will give them a chance to be the first team to complete a postseason undefeated. Earl Smith is chaplain for the Warriors, and he talked with us about the team's success and his own personal journey from the streets to prisons to court. Take a look. Earl Smith is chaplain for the hottest team in the NBA, but
I'm not a basketball fan, but it's not so much what they're doing on the court. It's what I see among themselves. It's what I see, how they love each other, how they treat each other, how they're happy to be around each other.
The team broke the record for most consecutive wins, and the team's leader, 27-year-old point guard Steph Curry, is eyeing records of his own. But he also has something more important than a jump shot.
He's an unbelievable competitor, wants to win, but more important than anything is his relationship. He has a relationship that far exceeds a three-point shot, far exceeds accolades that are in the arena. He's a family man. He loves his wife.
And Smith credits positive, loving relationships as one key element to his ministry, on and off the field. Smith has been ministering to prisoners for more than 25 years. And he says there's not much difference between a professional athlete and a prison inmate.
They both have numbers. Guys in prison have numbers. Athletes have numbers. If you think about it, the counties that most populate the prison system are also the counties that most populate professional sports. So these guys, there's a very small space between prison and professional sports in terms of, but there's a break.
Part of that break, Smith says, comes from a lack of positive influence, something he knows firsthand from his own childhood.
I was an angry kid. I was a drug dealer, gang member. More than anything, I was angry. I was angry about the way I grew up.
At age 19, after a drug deal went bad,
they brought someone to my house, and that person he brought to my house shot me.
He was rushed to the hospital with life-threatening bullet wounds.
The blessing is, that's not the end of the story. Doctor looked at my dad, told him I wasn't going to make it, I was going to die. And my dad grabbed the doctor. I was laying on the gurney, and he says, "Doctor, you better do what you do best. I'm going to do what I do best." And my dad walked out of the room, and I understood later that he went to pray. All of a sudden, the burning stopped. All of a sudden, I felt a peace, and a quietness came over me, and I heard this voice say, "You're not going to die. I have something for you to do. You're going to be a chaplain at San Quentin Prison."
The doctor couldn't explain the recovery.
He didn't know what was going on, but I knew. Those holes, they closed up. That was nothing but Jesus.
And the healing didn't end after he left the hospital. Once he became a chaplain at the prison, he ran into the man who shot him.
And I just looked at him and I realized going to Bible college and seminary and all these other things didn't mean anything. I heard about forgiveness, but I still hated him. And yet I was a chaplain, and I was asking, and I started to walk away, and I started to cry. God, why would you bring me all the way to this point, make me think I was okay? In actuality, I wasn't. I had to pass by him again on my way leaving. And when I got back to his cell, I looked at him and he was at the back. His wall was against the cell wall. And I said, I need to thank you. God used you to get to me. And those words came from Jesus. They didn't come from me.
From his own personal testimony, from drug dealer to chaplain, Earl Smith knows the impact your own experience can have.
For me, when I talk about hope, I talk about let's go back to where it starts. Let's talk about what it was that got you to this point. Because if we can discuss that, I can show you a Jesus that can get you beyond that.
Jesus can indeed get you beyond whatever is ailing you. Stay with us. There's more of CBN NewsWatch straight ahead. It is time now for your Thursday Thankful, and today I hope you'll join me in this prayer of gratitude. Father, thanks for delay. I know you've kept some things from me, not because you did not want me to have them, but because you knew I wasn't ready or able to handle them. With that word, make this a thankful Thursday. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about always at cbnnews.com. We would love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. Of course, you can always reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, make this a thankful Thursday. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.